Welcome to the Empowered Birth series, where I go deep into everything that you need to know to plan and get your true, natural, empowered birth. And today's topic is all of the things that you really need to invest in, either as a new mom or as a seasoned mom, when it comes to planning your birth experience and your pregnancy. Because, all you have to do is go into the mom groups and you can tell who's a seasoned mom and who's a new mom by the kinds of questions that are being asked about what to invest in. Typically, seasoned moms, if you don't know this, they invest in things that they wish they had invested in the first time. But it can be really tricky because we are in a consumer-based society and the baby gear is everywhere. In fact, I saw this myself when I was attending a baby show as an expo at an event, and I was offering childbirth education. I was offering true information and resources that would help these moms avoid having a heavily medicalized birth that would traumatize them. But here is what I found. A lot of the new moms, they were like, oh, I think I'm just going to have a natural birth, as natural as possible, but I'm pretty confident with what I know and I'm following my doctor. And then the other moms, the seasoned moms, were buying baby gear, but they were shying away from natural birth and they were shying away from birth education. And a lot of what I teach my clients, I have these moms come in that have been so screwed over out of their births. And they're like, I will take all of the information. I will invest whatever I need to make sure that I don't have another traumatic experience. But part of what I'm really striving for is that you get that education and you get that hindsight without the expensive price tag of being tricked by the system and being like, I wish I knew this beforehand. I wish somebody had said this to me. I'm just going to tell you right now, you don't want to be researching baby gear more than researching your birth options. And this is number 11 on my list of the 26 things that you need to know if this is your first time planning a true natural birth. Go and watch that video for the full overview, or go to my website, empoweringmomsbirth.com/freebies for the full list. Anyway, I'm just going to tell you, I spent a ton of money that I didn't even have, money that was even given to me by other people, and asking for things that I really didn't need because I fell into that new mom trap. And if you're going to invest in your birth and you're going to invest in your motherhood journey, then you want to avoid this, because I wasted so much time and energy and effort and money on setting up a nursery. My babies did not use the nursery. They ended up bed sharing with me for most of their childhood. Like, they were tiny little babies to toddlers to preschoolers before they were finally in their own beds. So I spent all this money on a nursery and it didn't even get used. If I had known that my entire stance on how I was going to do my parenting would change once I became a parent, I never would have spent that money. I would have kept my office the way it was, because I actually gave up my office to turn into a nursery. I never would have done that. I would have kept my office as it was and maybe put a bed in the corner to sleep with my child, to be able to be like, okay, if there's nights where my partner doesn't want me in the room with him and the baby, I can at least go and sleep in there. So the second time that I got pregnant, I actually changed the nursery around. I went and I bought a king size bed, and then I took the queen size bed and I put that in my son's bedroom, the one that he never used. And then that's where we would sleep. And then I would lay down with him in his queen size bed, and then he would fall off asleep, and then I would go back into the king size bed with my daughter and I'd breastfeed her through the night. But sometimes I was sleeping in the bed with both kids. So we didn't have a typical nursery. I was like, you know what? This is dumb, and I'm not going to do this anymore. The thing that's a really big regret for me is that I got $600 from a family member to spend on baby gear, and I spent it all on a crib that I thought was, well, this is a convertible crib and it's going to grow with the baby. It's going to be a crib, and then it's going to be a toddler bed, and then it's going to be a regular bed. And again, my kid would not use it. So I wasted a lot of money on that. Another thing is I wanted the baby bouncy thing, the exerciser, and my first baby hated it. My second, she was okay with it, but she still didn't spend a lot of time with it. It took up space in the living room, and I'm like, what is the purpose of this? They're really not into this. If they really want it, it can convert into a little play table. They played with it more as a play table than they ever did as an exerciser. I also bought one of those swings. And, it was great for all of 3 months. By the time my kids got to be 3 months old, they actually managed to flip themselves out of that swing. So there was a point where my son actually kind of twisted, and then he was hanging Mission Impossible style out of the swing. It was terrifying for me as a first-time mom. And also, it kind of gave me the idea. It's like, I just spent $200 on this swing, and it's only getting used for 3 months. So I'm going to tell you that, yeah, it's fun to research the baby gear, but if you can get something that's a hand-me-down from somebody else, and believe me, there are so many moms out there, we have this stuff and we just want to get it out of our house, do that. Don't go and focus on buying something brand new. Even if you've got the money for it, you're not going to use it. It's not going to last. The return on investment is really not worth it. All you're doing is sinking money into more gadgets and more things that are going to just take up space. And later you're going to be like, this wasn't even as important as I thought it was. Even car seats. So many people will spend so much money on a car seat thinking that it's going to grow with their child. I can tell you after having 2 children that there came a certain point where I'm like, this isn't even working anymore. I have to get a new seat. So there's actually an interview that I did with somebody a while back, way back in 2021, where she was saying what you really need to look for in a car seat. And you don't want to break the bank on a car seat, because what if you have an accident? If you have an accident, that expensive car seat is useless. Now you have to go and get another one again. So recognizing you want something that's good quality, but you don't want to break the bank on a car seat. Same thing with anything that allows you to basically wear your baby. You want it to work, but you don't want to break the bank on it. Okay, so now that I've covered the basics of what you really need to know about not buying things that are just going to waste your time and money, the thing is that what do you really need? Well, you'll need a pack of diapers for your newborn, but don't get a whole bunch of diapers, because you don't know if that diaper is going to work for your baby. In fact, I made this mistake with my first. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to buy up all of these diapers, and they leaked and they were not good. They gave rashes. It's like there was only one brand that would really work for my baby. So then I'm like, cool. I know exactly what brand to get for the next one. Now, my stepsister ran into this issue where one kid would take one brand and the other would take another brand. I was lucky enough that my kids would take the same brand, but not the same model. So there were 2 different ways of the diapers being. So my son was in one kind, my daughter was in a completely different kind of diaper within the same branding. And you just have to recognize that if you get one package, then you are not falling into that diaper trap. If you really want people to contribute to your diaper fund, because yeah, I know diapers can be a lot, you can have them just give you gift cards to go and use at the store, and you can buy diapers that way. The other thing though is, like, instead of having them just contribute to your diaper fund, there's other things that you're going to want them to contribute to. And we'll be talking about that in this video, the things that you really want to invest in, the things that are really going to help you. The other thing is if you're going to buy baby outfits, babies grow fast and they grow faster than you actually think that they would. You could have your baby, they're this tiny little thing as a newborn, and then the next week, they've outgrown everything. And then the week after that, they can outgrow things. Like they just keep growing. And like my kids are still popping out of their clothes even now because they're getting into their young adolescent years. My daughter's 8 currently as of this video, and my son is 11. And, you know, I could go and buy him a pair of shoes, and I know that within 3 months, those shoes are going to be completely useless. So please don't break the bank on baby outfits. In fact, you just want a couple of sleepers and you just want a couple of those little onesies and like the little diaper shirts. Those are all you really need because babies grow so fast. And there's been times where I've been getting a lot of hand-me-downs from moms. So like, just take this big tub of baby clothes and they still had tags on them. So when you recognize that a lot of baby stuff still ends up having tags on it because you buy too much, you really don't want to break the bank on baby clothes. The other thing is like babies have diaper blowouts. You're not going to want to try to rinse out all the stains out of the outfits. So the darker, the better, because then it doesn't show the stains. This is another new mom hack. Finally, the last thing that you might want to just, again, get just hand-me-downs, receiving blankets. They're softer than towels. They can still absorb all of the milk and the overflow and maybe some spit up and the diaper blowouts. It'll protect your outfit. So you do want those receiving blankets because they protect your outfits. They protect your clothes from all of the mess that comes with a newborn. I love my receiving blankets, but I don't buy them. I just ask other moms for their old ones because you don't really care. They're just going to either get thrown out or you just rewash them, and it doesn't matter because they're really just there to soak up all of the milk and if they spit up or the diaper blowouts. That's the purpose of the receiving blankets. So once you understand that you really only need those things, maybe something for baby wearing to keep your baby close, and you have your car seat, like you're pretty much set. In fact, for the first few months, I didn't even really need a stroller because I was wearing my baby. But with my second, of course, I also had additional kids. So I did have a double stroller, and I put my son in one side and my toddler nephew in the other side. And then my niece was walking beside me, and I had my baby daughter inside of the little carrier, and I was carrying her until she was about 5 months old, in which case she went in the front, and her cousin and her brother were actually kind of doubled up in the back. So it was very comical watching me walk down the street in the stroller, but you don't need that right away. Instead, why not focus on the things that actually are going to help you in your motherhood? Because there's nothing more devastating than birth trauma. And that is really expensive long term. It affects how you see yourself. It affects your relationship with your partner. Now you need to go and pay for marriage counseling because you're dealing with underlying birth trauma. Maybe you're also needing to have some physiotherapy of some kind or pelvic floor therapy because of the fact that you were in the hospital and they made you purple push, and now your pelvic floor is all messed up, or you got a C-section, or you got an episiotomy, or you got the forceps and vacuum, or like something happened that messed up your pelvic floor. That's expensive. Maybe you're also trying to deal with the trauma of your birth, and now you're doing birth trauma counseling. There's so much that's expensive after your baby is born that you could avoid if you choose to invest in yourself in the right ways now. And that's what this video is really going to tell you about, is what you need to invest in. Now, you might think that I'm going to say childbirth classes. And education is helpful. It does give you some information. It tells you about your options. However, that's not what I think is the most important thing to invest in. Even though I myself am a childbirth educator, even though I have courses available, I really think that you are best served in different ways than just investing in a childbirth course. That's enhanced education. But if you only have the money available for one thing, do not spend it on childbirth education. The reason I say that is because a lot of stuff you can get out there for free, or you can go and get a book from the library, or you can ask a doula. And part of the empowered birth method, we aim for true natural birth and we pull back only as needed. I also do this through 3 distinct paths. Number 1 is the do-it-yourself option, where you can just go and watch any one of these deep dive master classes, my shorter videos, my interview series that I do with the Empowered Mom Circle, and you can go and subscribe to my newsletter. You just go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/toolkit, put your name and your email in. You'll get automatically subscribed to the weekly newsletter where I go deep into everything you need to know to plan and get your true natural birth. I tell you what's coming up in the empowered birth community. I share empowered birth stories. I tell you what's going on in my Empowered Mom Circle, additional resources you can get, and you have access to one of the most powerful resources ever created, which is the Empowered Birth Toolkit. This is basically a Google Drive that you have access to, and I put things in and I take things out. So I have the workbooks, I have course modules, I have PDF guides, I have everything that I can think of as like, if this is the theme right now of what's coming up, here's what I'm going to put in for a resource for you. The reason I'm doing this is because I believe that education needs to be accessible to everyone, and I'm not comfortable putting information behind a paywall. What you really pay for is access to me. So at the lowest level, the do-it-yourself, you can send me an email or you can comment on my social media. If you comment on social media, I will eventually respond to you. If you send me an email, I'll get back to you within 1 to 2 business days and direct you to the resources that you need. I'm not going to put that behind a paywall. What you really pay for when you get my program, your Empowered Birth Academy, or you enroll in any of my coaching, is access to me specifically, getting on a call with you, putting my time in for you to get the empowered birth that you want at a higher level. But otherwise, I believe that you should be able to do this yourself. I believe that if you put in the work, if you take the do-it-yourself route, you're going to get everything that you need. All it takes is time and a willingness to learn. So that is why that path is available. And all I ask in return, since you're not paying me directly, is to pay it forward. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel. When you're in the mom groups and you see questions about baby gear, drop this video so that they know what they really need to invest in. Let's get out of this consumer-based mindset where we're investing in things that are not actually going to help us to have a beautiful, empowered birth, and instead put it where it matters. So where does it matter? Okay, so number 1 on the list, if you've been following me for a while, then you know that 2 of the biggest determining factors of whether or not you're going to have a C-section is who you hire for your birth and where you choose to birth. So number 1 is your birth attendant. Now, depending on where you are in the world, it may be free for you to access a midwife, or you may have to pay out of pocket to get one. But either way, even if you do have access to midwives within a health authority, there are limitations to that. Go check out one of my other videos on how to hire a midwife for a true natural birth to learn more about that. But what you really need to focus on is if you're looking for a specific kind of birth and the medical system does not offer that, they won't pay for it, the insurance won't cover it, you need to be able to invest in the kind of midwife you want. You need to be able to pay out of pocket for the kind of doctor who will actually do on call and come to your house and support a home birth, because they do exist. So if you are investing in your birth attendant, that in itself is going to be far more valuable than if you're trying to spend a lot of money on baby gear. I would much rather you spend thousands of dollars on getting your birth attendant to come to you rather than spending thousands of dollars on baby products that are just going to end up either in a landfill, or they're going to end up being sold or even given away later on. So you don't even get a return on your investment, or they get broken, or they get shoved in a closet, or they get shoved in your storage room. Like, you don't want that. You really want to invest in your birth. So if somebody's asking you what to get you and you really want a midwife, but you're like, I can't afford a midwife, figure out a way to crowdsource that to get a midwife. I'm telling you, that's probably the best investment that you could have, is getting the right birth attendant. The second one on the list is your birth location, because it's not just enough to have the right birth attendant. If you're not in the right environment for birth, that can affect things as well. You could have the best midwife, but if they can't support you in a hospital birth the way that you actually want to be supported, then going to the hospital because you think that's your only option, or going to a birth center because that's the only place that you can access, is not going to help you. You need to be able to pay out of pocket for home birth. Now, there is a way around it with insurance where they can retroactively pay you back, but you've got to put the money up front. So if you can't cover that and insurance won't pay for that, then you're stuck with the hospital birth that you really don't want. But because you think you can't afford a birth center, or you can't rent out a birth house, or you can't have a home birth because you don't have the money up front, that limits you. And in a maternity care desert, or when the hospital seems like the cheapest option, this is where a lot of the trauma comes from. Moms know instinctively where they need to give birth, and you know instinctively where you need to give birth and where you feel safest. If it's not the hospital, do yourself a favor and really invest in your home birth. I myself put money aside 2 years before I was even planning my home birth with my second baby, because I now knew what the expenses were, and it's really not as much as you think. A lot of the times when I'm talking to my clients, I'm like, okay, you're going to need a pool. You're going to need some towels. Here's a list of other things that you'll need for your do-it-yourself home birth. Because most of my clients are also choosing unassisted birth because there are no birth attendants available. So because I understand what's needed, I'm able to reflect that back to them, give them the tools that they need, understand the herbs that they might want to pick up, any extra little supplements that they might want to get to ensure that they are having the healthiest pregnancy and healthiest birth possible, even if they have to do it themselves. So when you're investing in your birth location and you're investing in the supplies needed for that birth location, then you have your power back. And finally, number 3 on the list is probably if you really need to invest in something, you're like, do I go with the childbirth education now, or do I go with a doula? You want doula support that also comes with postpartum support, because it's not enough to just have somebody there for the birth. When you are postpartum, your body is recovering. And this is the part where a lot of moms get this wrong. They think that they just need to bounce back and get back into their routine. It's like, I can't wait to have this baby because then I can finally do the dishes again and I won't be tired. No. Invest in a doula and invest in your postpartum support. If you can invest in meal trains, if you can invest in a house cleaner to come in and clean your bathroom and your kitchen for you, if you can invest in somebody to maybe come in and watch your older kids or take your older kids out if you have older children so that you can have just some baby bonding time, if you can invest in somebody to watch your kids, all of them, so that you and your partner can have some alone time, if you can invest in somebody who's just going to come in and just do whatever you need, like a postpartum doula, do that. Do that. Because when you have a baby, your milk is coming in, you're recovering from childbirth, even if it was an easy childbirth and you had a true natural birth, you're still recovering. You still need to sit down and relax. And ultimately, you really don't need to be cleaning and doing all of the things. So invest in your postpartum support. And finally, number 4, of course, if you can afford education as well as getting everything else in order, by all means, go and get a course, but make sure it's the right one. Go check out one of my other videos on what you really need to know when it comes to choosing the right childbirth education course or class for you. Because when you're having a true natural birth and you're planning an empowered birth, this is different from what mainstream has taught you to do. And I really am committed to you investing in yourself at the highest level, not monetary, but in the return of investment. Because, even when my clients are working with me, they're investing at one level and I'm giving them 10 times what they invested back to them as a return of investment. So when you're looking at that with your education, if you can't afford education, you still deserve to have information. And that's, again, why I have your Empowered Birth Academy as the self-study version. You're not paying for the information. In fact, I'm going to be continuously giving that information. There's going to be so many videos and the core programs and bonus classes, and the price doesn't change. Because the thing that you're really paying for with Academy is access to me. So you can go through all of the information and then you just pay to have the access to me with that one 15-minute laser coaching call. And then if you want to work at a deeper level, we can talk about that. However, I'm really committed to you having an empowered birth, whether you work with me any further or not, whether you go into my high-level coaching or not. I want you to have that beautiful empowered birth. You deserve it. Every birth can and should be a beautiful and empowering experience. And birth trauma is expensive. It is a lifelong expensive thing that just gets more and more expensive the more you ignore it. And it can cost you future pregnancies and future births because now you've got to work through your trauma. You are also dealing with possibly an injured uterus, especially if you had a C-section. You're now dealing with the medical system saying, oh, you had a C-section, so we're going to put limits on you. And then you have to navigate at a higher level to really try to get your empowered birth. So this is, again, why my clients, when they come to me, they're typically VBAC moms. They're VBAC moms who have had multiple C-sections or they had other complications in the past. They believe their bodies can do this. The medical system does not. And they are fighting an uphill battle, and they don't want to do that. They want to be able to just be able to birth their baby and not have anybody touch them. So I really give them the tools and I help them and I coach them so that they can feel confident moving forward and advocating for themselves and birthing their babies. And ultimately, I save them like thousands and thousands of dollars in medical bills because they're able to just go and do it themselves. So this is, again, why I have the free path, which, as I said, all you have to do is keep watching these videos. Like, share, subscribe to this channel, pay it forward, because when you pay it forward, when you pass this information on, then the other moms are not going to get tricked. They're not going to fall into the natural birth traps. They're going to come in here. They're going to get the education. They're not wasting their money on the baby gear. They're not wasting their money on things that aren't going to serve them. They're not going to be spending thousands of dollars on birth classes or dealing with their trauma after birth. Instead, they're investing on things that matter. And let's just recap. The 3 things that you need to focus on. Number 1 is hiring the right birth attendant for you. Put the money aside and hire the right person, the right midwife or the right doctor, the one that maybe you'd be like, oh, it's a little pricey, but they're worth it. Put that money aside. Number 2, your birth location. You really need to be thinking about this. Hospital birth may look like it's free. It may look like it's covered under insurance and be the cheaper option, but in the long run, it's actually the most expensive one you can pick because insurance is all about minimizing risk and they don't understand true natural birth. So their idea of a minimized risk is usually to send you to the hospital with the high C-section rates because in their mind, they think that that is better than a hospital that doesn't do those things and supports physiological birth. We need to flip that around. So by investing in your birth location, you are now informing the market of what we really need. And finally, number 3 on the list, you really need to be investing in your postpartum and getting a doula. A doula is a bodyguard in the medical system. They're the one holding space for your partner so they don't freak out as you're going through your process. They're the ones that are basically able to say, this is normal, just support her, and everything will work out. And like they're also able to see when things are deviating, suggest things, but a really good doula holds space. Go check out one of my other videos where I talk about birth advocacy, getting your doula on board, getting your partner on board, and how to hire the right doula. It's all out there on my channel. And you can also just reach out to me, hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com if you need any support, figuring out where to get those resources. The best way to get your empowered birth with the do-it-yourself method, though, is to sign up for the Empowered Birth Toolkit and subscribe to the newsletter. Go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/toolkit. And of course, finally, number 4, as I said, was education. But I'm giving that to you. So if you have any questions, just reach out. hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com. I'm happy to answer them for you. If I don't know something, I guarantee I know someone who does, or I know where to find that information. So do not hesitate. You can ask questions in the comments, but I'm not always reading those. If you want a quick answer, the fastest way is to email me, hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com, and either myself or one of my team members will get back to you within 1 to 2 business days. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Pay it forward in the mom groups. Let other moms know about this because I'm committed to every mom having a beautiful and empowering experience in birth and not getting tricked by the medical system, not falling into the natural birth traps that we have in our birth culture, and being able to experience the full power of their body and have a more authentic motherhood journey that's right for them. And you know, when you pay it forward, you're really putting that energy out there for what we want to create in our birth culture moving into the future. For our daughters, for our granddaughters in the future, for every mom who's ever giving birth, and it heals the past as well. So moms who maybe are already past the age of childbearing, they're looking at us as like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. I'm happy that you're doing this. You're finally speaking to something. You're finally moving forward. And through watching you, I'm able to heal my own story. So thank you again for watching. Happy empowered birth journey, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.